Now, if you remember, for a couple of months we've been looking at the 6 days of creation. And we're on to day 6 now, and I'm not going to do it in any particular order other than what I chose to look at today kind of relates to the theme of our service this morning. So I'm just focusing on this verse, and this is just one verse in what is quite a long passage about day 6. If you think about day 6 of creation, what happens? Can you remember what happens on day 6 of creation?
We show up.
Sorry?
We show up.
We show up, yes. But there's more than that. What else happens? Can you remember everything that's been created so far and what we've got left? Sorry? People, yes, is one thing. Animals, yes, that's right. So in terms of living things, day 5, if you remember, was the fish in the sea and the birds of the air, and now we have the animals that inhabit the land. And that's really what the day is all about. But I just, as I say, wanted to focus on this particular verse. So I'll read it. Then God blessed them and said to them, and he's speaking to the people, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." And I wondered what you thought about these words. Subdue it and have dominion. What do you think about those?
Oh, that's maybe, should be nicer written.
Should be written more nicely?
Up to now, people are very cruel to animals up to today.
There's that tendency, certainly, yes. What do other people think about these words? Subdue and have dominion.
Well, I think it implies a level of responsibility as well, because, for those who are given much is expected.
Yes, okay, yes, yeah.
But of course it doesn't say that we have to abuse them.
Oh, no, that's quite right. I'll talk a little bit about that later on. Anybody else, any thoughts about these words, subdue and have dominion?
Dominion implies stewardship, so you've got to take care of things as well as it.
Oh, yes, so there's
Take care of as well as control.
the idea of a word that I've heard used is stewardship, managing, you see. Now, so these two words most definitely imply that idea of stewardship, managing something, looking after.
Subdue is worse than that.
Like the indigenous people do with that's right, and their sense of what country is. I'm sorry, Marika, what did you say?
Subdue is much worse than stewardship.
Okay, so let me talk you through these words. I found a couple of things. So in both cases, subdue and dominion, there are shades of meaning. Okay, so there are more positive meanings. There's the meaning that's perhaps intended here, but it is also used for much more negative, darker, sort of a sense of evil and a sense of power. So these words cover both of them do. Okay, there's the command the Lord is giving here to people and the intention, as far as I'm aware, does include a sense of management, stewardship, looking after, the sense that the indigenous people have of the natural world. So there's that side of it, but then there's also ideas of victory in warfare. There's idea of power, indeed the abuse of power. These words are used as well. So we just need to be aware when we come to a text like this that a word such as this, or as these two words, have this broad range of meaning, and we need to be careful about what we read into them. Okay?
Yes.
So biblical scholars in this setting will talk about the idea of stewardship and management, looking after the planet that we live on. Those sorts of ideas are inherent in this rather than abuse. But the words most definitely are also applied to things like warfare, as I say, so to have victory over something, someone.
That's a kind of abuse.
Okay, yes, yeah. And all the way into an abusive form of power. Okay, so all of these shades of meaning. What I want you to realise though, when we talk spiritually about this, what do you think about when we think about these words spiritually?
Spiritual.
Yeah, so I mean in terms of our own life. Never mind the world out there. Never mind our relationship with other people. Our relationship with ourself.
To have control and like a bit of autonomy over, well, we've got to have control over as much as we can, over our inner self and,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yes.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
subdue the stuff that wouldn't be useful and like have control over it.
Yes, yes, yeah, that's right. Does anybody else any thoughts?
For good purposes, rather than-
To use for good purposes rather than bad? Yes, that's right. That's right. Sorry, Marika?
Because how mankind is, we
Yeah.
are inclined more to do the bad than the
Oh, we are, aren't we? We are, absolutely. And this is what this is speaking to. This is speaking to us. You think Paul used this word, a new creation. He speaks about this idea that, whoever is in Christ is a new creation. We are created anew. We have all of these things within us, and we are to subdue and have dominion over them. We are to, as Pam was saying, control ourselves. We are to use our resources, our desires and our knowledge for what is good, useful purposes, rather than bad, selfish ones. That's all wrapped up in this. And as I was reading it during the week, I was also thinking it talks to me about the Lord's work in this world when he was here. That he came to subdue and have dominion over the powers of hell, the powers of evil. And that's what he did. He showed us the way. So that's something I just felt this was relevant for today when we're talking about this idea of hell. Okay, so as you read this day, and we'll dive back into the sixth day of creation in future weeks, then just hang on to those ideas, okay?